I guess this is all we're gonna get, so, at this session, so it's now 6:02. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And our first order of business tonight will be our work session briefing on the agenda.
Okay, Mayor and Council, tonight on your consent agenda, item 4A are the minutes for the April 17th City Council regular meeting. Item 4B is a resolution authorizing purchase of the waterworks utility repair products from Core and Main LP through City of Grapevine Cooperative Agreement. This is actually a continuation of an existing contract. In February, Council approved this contract with Core and Main, but the blanket contract was expiring in April. Since then, it's been rebid through the City of Grapevine. They have a new contract now, and so what we're doing is continuing the same budgeted amount, but onto the new contract for the rest of the fiscal year and into next fiscal year. And then item 4C is a resolution expressing support for passenger rail service as designated in the Council of Governments Draft Mobility 2045 Plan. And as you heard last meeting in the briefing from the COG, the Mobility 2045 Plan designates the Midlothian line on the map, and that is the rail line that would run through Duncanville into Cedar Hill and Midlothian. They are still taking comments on that, and so by this resolution, the council is expressing support for expansion of passenger rail south from the Westmoreland DART station, and also expressing your desire to be able to have a say in where the location of a rail station would be located in Duncanville.
You know, in the body of, at least in the memorandum, the staff memorandum, it talks about this commitment to assist with the funding of a rail study. Can you expand on that?
Yes, so in the comprehensive plan, it does talk about a rail study, and it also talks about potential locations for a rail station. So the Economic Development Corporation passed a resolution of support this past year, and they have committed to assisting with funding if we do a rail study. There is no funding set aside right now, and there is no plans for a rail study right now, but what they have done is said that they would participate in that in the future.
Okay.
We do a study for right now for something 2045?
No, we wouldn't right now. I mean, if we do any kind of a study, it would probably be a very broad transportation study for the region. So a component of that might be rail, but I don't think at this point we're at the point we're ready to do a specific rail study. And I think that was kind of what the COG planner was discussing in that presentation, where she talked about, you know, there's a lot of steps that you would need to go through to demonstrate ridership, demonstrate the use or the need for transportation. So I think, if anything, it would probably be a more overarching type of transportation study that would be done for the region before we would get to a specific rail study. But like I said, there is no plans right now. There's nothing budgeted. There's nothing in the works for a rail study. Those are all of the items. There are no items on individual consideration. And then in the reports tonight, Parks and Rec quarterly report and Fieldhouse quarterly report.
There is the group that went to Italy and does plan to do a good presentation.
They bring any wine?
See me, I
Thought you were going to go back.
See me, I brought some
That'll make
back.
me vote better.
You'll have a break now.
You might have to come get it.
Well, that's all we've got, so, you know, I'll go ahead and adjourn the briefing session. We'll convene at 7 o'clock for the council.
Whereas the city of Duncanville is committed to improving the physical quality of community life, and whereas the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board was established to promote this commitment, and whereas the mission of the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board is to empower the Duncanville citizens and businesses to take responsibility for enhancing their community environment, and whereas each quarter the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Board recognizes one commercial property within the city for significant improvements to the exterior portion of the property, landscaping improvement, and or long-term maintenance of the property that exemplifies high-quality standards. And whereas Good Life Senior Living and Memory Care located at 312 West Wheeler Road has been selected as the Business Beautification Award recipient for May 2018. Now, David L. Green, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, does hereby urge all residents to join in the congratulating Good Life Senior Living and Memory Care located at 312 West Wheeler Road and commending this business for contributing to the beautification of our city.
Well, I would just like to thank the community for allowing us to be recognized for this award, and we will continue to grow with the community, and thank you so much.
Our second proclamation, item number 2B, is on AWWA Drinking Water Week. And Dennis asked to do this because this is Public Works, and he's very experienced in Public Works.
Well, I did notice that this commemorates Public Works employees past and present, so I fit in this category. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measure of successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to the access of safe water, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each citizen of our city is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water. Now therefore, David Green, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, does hereby call upon all citizens of Duncanville and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May the 6th through May the 12th as Drinking Water Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observations in which all of our people may join in commemorating the Public Works Department employees of the City of Duncanville, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the health, safety, and well-being of all citizens.
I just wanted to just take this opportunity to present Jackie Colton, my deputy, as well as Donald McKinney, who is our utility operations manager. And again, without them, they're the ones that are down there. And of course, wanted to also recognize they're not here tonight. We've got a few folks on that are always on call. But again, the crews who are the ones that are out there in the field, that are responding to the breaks, that are making the repairs, that are keeping the lines clean for everybody here. So I just wanted to also give a shout out to the crews as well.
Item number 2C is a proclamation recognizing the National Police Week.
This especially takes on special meaning because we laid to rest a police officer today in Dallas. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15, 2018 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week, and whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Duncanville play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Duncanville, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property and by protecting them against violence and disorder and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the City of Duncanville unceasingly provide a vital public service, now, therefore, David L. Green, the City of Duncanville, do hereby call upon all citizens of Duncanville and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 13th through the 19th, 2018 as National Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all their people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers of the City of Duncanville, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of the City of Duncanville to observe May 15, 2018 as police officers, not I personally, but I for David L. Green, through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice through their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. And I just want to say, I don't know if, and I have to teach my kids this, there are callings, and then there are, and these are the professions, and then there are, business and what we do for work. And the professional, and this goes back in the English common law and tradition, is that you do the work, you do a duty. You're called by God to do a duty, and you do that duty no matter what the pay is, no matter what the hazard is. And so the traditional professions have always been the law enforcement, our policemen, our doctors, our pastors, our public servants. So I understand y'all don't do this for the money, and I'm just so thankful that that God has called great men like you to stand in harm's way for the people of Duncanville.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thomas, for your kind words. Mayor and council, on behalf of the men and women of the Duncanville Police Department, we'd like to thank you for this proclamation. National Police Week and Police Memorial Day are reminders of how dangerous this job is. It's a time where we honor police officers across this nation who have lost their lives. I was doing some research earlier this morning, and 48 law enforcement officers have already died in the line of duty, and it's just May 1st. In addition to that, the Dallas Police Department said farewell to a police officer who was killed in the line of duty this morning. And so as you look at these officers, you see the black across our badges. It's a tradition for every law enforcement officer. When someone is killed in the line of duty, we honor that officer by covering our badge. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you have my word that the men and women of the Duncanville Police Department will do their very best to protect this community in spite of the dangers that we face on a daily basis. So thank you very much for your support.
And item number 2D is a presentation and report by the Duncanville delegation of their sister city visit to Monastrollo di Savigliano, province of Cuneo, Italy. Our chairman of our committee is Sandy Shiroki, and so Sandy, at this time, I'll call on you to come on up.
Use this?
Either one.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Green for giving me his time spot. I want to thank the council for appointing Fred and I to the commission, for supporting the Sister City Friendship, to the city manager Kevin Huggins and Kristen Downs for their expertise and support, to librarian Julio Velaquez for our helping support our 2 in-service educations for the delegates, to Cody Bainer, correct? For the technical support. And I wanted to say that our group was a multicultural group of citizens. And number one, the most important thing is everybody got along. So that was very important to us. There's going to be one error on the slide that Cody did for us. She said we had free time. We had no free time. They kept us busy the whole time. We have been involved in this since year 2000, and this trip far exceeded our expectations. Everything was extremely well planned and organized. We were greeted by citizens of Monastrollo through all different economic levels. At every event, we were supported by at least 250 citizens from Monastrollo at 3 different events. There was so much warmth and concern for our well-being. We were well-fed Italian style. Most of us are afraid still to get on the scale. We were enriched and we were loved, and it just felt like a family reunion. The quality of the school program just blew us away. Mayor Marco Cavaglia, which is the mayor's term is Sindaco in Italian, he sends you and us your greetings, and he wants you to know he'll be watching. He watches all your meetings on YouTube. So
I totally need to get a laugh.
right. The quality of the program to pass out shows you the quality of the program and all the sponsorships that he did. And one of the newspapers that I brought shows you the extensive media coverage that was done on that. So everything was just great. The quality of the bus, the transportations, that we had citizens with us on every trip. We were supported on all the surroundings. Besides our airfare and our incidentals, like what we spent on souvenirs and everything, our total cost was 250 euros, which was less than $400. And figure that out for the long duration of this trip, that was really cheap. This was all subsidized by businesses. We were all hosted by citizens. They were either the agricultural community, IT, banking, or they were local businesses like a cheesemaker, or they were involved in international business. The exciting thing was that the age group of the group that hosted us was age 30 to age 60. So you had young families, or you had young grandparents. We hosted, since the year 2000, 4 teenagers, so have now become parents. They're in their 40s, and several of them hosted our delegates this year. So we're looking at a generational thing. It's passing this on from one generation to another. So next year we will have a young group coming. It's going to be the larger of the group that we sent over. And so our goal was to try and find lots of hosts for these people. So Cody has on view this was the big trip to celebrate the 20th anniversary. We're all housed in local delegates. Everybody in that group, someone in that group spoke some English, except the people we had. But we had hosted their son, and so we stayed with them. So we had this little translator that was this big, where you spoke it and spoke into it, and you pushed the button, and it spoke to them, and that's how we communicated. But all you have to do is smile a lot over there and gesture, and it worked out well. The delegates spent a lot of time with us. We had no free time. And the big highlight was April 25th. It was the Liberation Day, which celebrated Italy being liberated by the Allies. It was a super celebration. It was at their park. They must have had 100 citizens show up for that, and then they celebrated all day. So it was really awesome. Participants, Mayor Green, Senator Jane Nelson was there. She's very loved by this community. She's loved by the whole Piedemonte region. When the first mayor there wanted to do a sister city program, he is under the authority of the mayor of Cuneo. So he had to have the mayor of Cuneo's approval, and then over the mayor of Cuneo and that whole region is the president of Piedemonte. So that's the pecking order for that whole area there. So there's just a list of the people, and you'll hear from some of them today. Okay, when we arrived, we had a really nice bus pick us up. Their city hall is on the left. It's located in a former castle. They had a welcoming reception for us. On the bottom right is the tower, which is named the Duncanville Tower. And they have all the mementos that we have sent them, just like we have here in the front and in the library. On the left, David Green is presenting the Syndico with a shirt that says Mayor of Monesterola with the logo of Duncanville, and he was really pleased with that. We thought that this was our food. So they had cheese and wine, so we're pigging out, just to find out later on that it's going to be pizza. So you'll see a picture of the pizza. Okay, this is Liberation Day. They had a band. They had honor guard. It was a very solemn event. It was very awesome. On the far right is one of their festivals for us, and it celebrated Liberation Day. And of course, this is like an 8-course meal. And of course, Italian style, this lasts 3 hours. Here's just a group picture. The Piedmont area starts in the Southern Alps, so you can see the Alps in the background. If you see the bright white on that left-hand side, right behind that is a glacier, and we took a lot of group pictures. Okay. This is a picture group. What is that picture? I don't remember that picture.
Which one?
That's outside Torino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a picture of a church? Dedicated to the soccer players? That died. It's dedicated to the soccer player who died, and this is in Torino. At the top is Again, this one's in the City Hall at Monasterola, and this is us at one of the restaurants. They took us to, we were ate at least one restaurant every day, and again, it was a 7-course meal. So that's why we're not on the scale. On the bottom right, we visited a cabinet maker, and he had this plaque made for each one of us celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Sister City program. And that's us on the bus. On the bottom left are school children. And we visited 2 schools. We visited a preschool, and we visited an elementary school. This little elementary school, with only 2 months' notice, they sang American songs. They played American songs for us on their flutes, and they also did Star Spangled Banner. We were really impressed. This is a very loving school. We were thinking possibly of matching this elementary school with an elementary school here in Duncanville, and that way to start the communications going.
Sandy, and all of them did their presentation to us in English.
Yeah, all the presentations were in English. On the left is a sister city host. They hosted Sylvia and Kay. On the left, the guy is a Carabinieri, which is a military policeman, and his wife and their 2 children. And then there are just pictures of the group on the right. Okay, so the goal is to promote youth exchange visits, and you'll see on the council the mayor had translated his message to you from Italian, and you have a handout on that, and that's part of his message too, to promote youth exchange visits. He was thinking initially of their school starts September 16th, and just having a student come when our kids start that first week in August, like mid-August, and spend that month here just observing the classes, and possibly have a Duncanville student go over there for just 1 month and observe the classes. So there wouldn't be, and eventually start with, then that may lead to an exchange program. We're going to have them here in 2019. So with the friendship, international education, cultural exchange, possibly commerce, and the big thing was the lifetime friendship from one generation to the next. And also, they could help facilitate if someone has someone that wants to work over there, the possibility of getting them a green card. There are a lot of possibilities there. So we express special thanks to Mayor Cavaglia and the citizens of Monasterola for hosting us. And they also granted David Green and Senator Jane Nelson honorary citizenship. So that was a big deal. Their council did that.
Sandy.
And David has it there.
You want to show them?
It's quite impressive.
We have an Italian version, but it says, Town of Monasterola di Savigliano grant of honorary citizenship with a deliberation of the City Council number 11 in the day of March 29, 2018, has been made an honorary citizen of this town, the city of Duncanville, in the person of Mayor David Green, in recognition of the relationship and the friendship developed from the 90s till today through visits between the 2 communities, through generous hospitality of the local families, through sharing of whatever that word is, traditions, history, and cultures. So they presented one of these to me because we were celebrating the 20th anniversary of the relationship, and one to Senator Jane Nelson.
Okay. I just wanted to mention a couple of the itinerary highlights. We had so many, but we visited several wineries, and the big brand there is the Barolo brand of wine, which retails here for $120 and we saw a bottle there for $1,400. So it's one of the best wines in Italy. We visited cheese factories. We visited a cabinet manufacturer. We visited a pet food company that distributes to 89 countries, and their number one buyer is Russia, and their number two buyer is Japan. We visited an 11th century St. Michel Abbey near the Southern Alps. Of course, we visited the heart-touching elementary schools. The visit with the Piedemonte president and his assembly. The April 25th Independence Day celebration. We visited Lake Maggiore and then many national preserves in the Southern Alps. And then we visited a cave, which they call a grotto, and it dated from 50,000 BC, and it was pretty awesome. So this program will grow from generation to generation. Common problems are explored and issues are dealt with. The challenges for us as a community is to get the community involved. Maybe civics groups, churches, schools, businesses. I see us needing to do excessive PR, a lot more community email blasts, newsletters, early announcements, and many to engage the people. The commission needs to be appointed and start earlier because there's going to be so much more planning involved. It's going to have to be really detailed work. Pick several dates for the Monasteral to come here and see what would fit with their schedule, and also with Jane Nelson's schedule, because the legislation will be in effect. This group of delegates have been energized by their visit. They're dedicated to the improvement and future of the exchange. I thank you for your time and faith in me. And several of the delegates here are going to talk briefly. Thank you. And thank you, Cody.
I do want to say one thing, that this program has been going on for 20 years, and it's paid for by people who go. It's not paid for by the city. So people have wanted to go, and the group's growing. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time to go and meet with these folks and find out they love Americans. And they told us why they love Americans so much. Number one, we liberated them. And so on April the 25th, they celebrate that every year. Number two, we taught them how to grow crops. And number three, we gave them the Marshall Plan that put them back on their feet. So they really appreciate what we've done for them. Fred?
Mayor Green and the council, my name is Fred Cherokee. I'm the lesser half of our relationship here with Sandy, and I appreciate the chance to get a few words in if there are any left, but I'll try to make it brief. I was born in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. That doesn't mean anything here, but there was another guy named George Catlin Marshall who was also born in my hometown, and he's very well honored there. He was the guy who did the Marshall Plan or started it. We moved to Duncanville on July 4th, 1976, okay? Date in history. We were kind of scared because of two things. One, we didn't speak Texan, and number two, the Steelers had just defeated the Cowboys in the Super Bowl the year before, and we were petrified. Later, we found that Joe Green actually lived in Duncanville, visited him and his family. Our kids went to school with his kids. We lived, we practiced, and we worshiped in Duncanville for the better part of 40 years. And so we kind of had roots here a little bit. Sandy had been involved in the past. She was a member and chairman of the sign board and a member and chairman of the Parks and Recreation Board. And I was also a member of the Parks and Recreation Board and served briefly as its chairman. Our 3 children are all attendees of Duncanville High School from grades 1 through 12, and really enjoyed the experience there. While they were in high school, they became involved with the foreign travel program. This was a program where if you studied a language, you could qualify for a trip to that country during your spring break, and they took a lot of participation with that. Also, Sandy and I have hosted 3 exchange students from Germany for a year each, and they went to Duncanville High School and mixed with the community. We still are on pretty good terms with them, and their families hosted us, and we've hosted their families in exchange. The program was unique to public schools in Texas. Usually only the elite private schools would allow foreign travel, and we were really impressed with Duncanville's approach in this area. We've been active with the Sister City program ever since it started. We've hosted families, we've visited them, they visited us, we visited them with groups and also as individuals. And they're really our friends, and we consider the youngsters that visited us a few years back as our kids. I mean, we really have a very strong bonding. We've done things with them easily. And what I would urge the city to do is please consider continuing this program. Duncanville's a city of champions, but you never thought of yourselves as an international city of champions, and that's what we're developing. The future is international, and I think it was Dorothy that told Toto, you know, she woke up and said, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, things are changing, and I urge the city to keep its progressive attitude and policies. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, like Fred said, are there any words left? There's been a lot of explanation about this. My name is Sylvia Lyons. I've been a resident here in Duncanville for 40 years. And this year I had the privilege and honor to participate in a most unique trip to our sister city in Monteserrolo, and which the city hall is housed in an ancient castle dating back to, I think, the 10th century is when it was first, they found that it was first mentioned at that time. Well, we learned about their industries, agriculture, and their ways of life. And my young host family and 2 young children were delightful, and we shared many laughs trying to communicate with their broken English and my lack of Italian language. By the time we said our farewells, it was as though we were saying goodbye to family. I highly recommend that each of you participate in this trip at least once, or that you consider hosting a guest when they visit us. And I also encourage the new council, or the present council and the new council, to do everything in their power to continue the Sister City program so that future Duncanville generations will have the opportunity for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Thank you.
Mayor Green, City Council. My name is Sheila Bologna. This is my husband, Larry. We live at 211 Linda Lane, and we've been here for 22 years. We're transplants from Illinois, couldn't get here fast enough. And it's hard to expound upon any more than what's already been said. It's just been a wonderful trip for us. We learned so much about another culture. So what I'm going to tell you a little bit is something about what is a sister city. There are 2 communities coming together to exchange trade, education, and cultural projects. This was started by Dwight Eisenhower shortly after World War II. And today there's over 600 United States cities that have sister cities in other countries. Some cities, such as San Antonio and Chicago, have more than one sister city. They're actively involved in trying to reach out and project a good side of the United States. We hear too much today about the bad Americans. We're getting a lot of bad publicity. Well, these people here in our sister city of Monteserrolo di Salviano, they have something very important to offer to us too, and it's friendship. Not only did the host family reach out to us in friendship, but did everybody else who participated in this. These citizens were very interested in getting to know not only about us, but the city of Duncanville. What's it like to live in Duncanville? We have this, do you have that? Is comparisons. We can learn a lot from some of the things that they have, as well as they can learn from us. And as we talked about the Italy celebrating Liberation Day on April 25th, one of the things I noticed was that they have such respect for America. Not only did they have the Italian flag up at the memorial site, the American flag was there too. They presented the Star-Spangled Banner and then the Italian national anthem. With the short walk to the park, watching this parade, going back to eat, I was amazed at a town of a little over 1,000 people, how many people would show up there. And I compared it, unfortunately, to the people that show up to our Memorial Day parades and ceremonies. There's so much we can learn from the citizens of Monsterola, and there's so much we can share with them, with the possibility of the exchange students. And to that being said, People-to-People program was presented by Dwight Eisenhower, which our son had a chance to go on to many years ago. He's now 44, and he still talks about the relationships and the trip over to the Soviet Union just right before the coup. So I think this is a very important program, and I really encourage the City Council to expound upon this program, to encourage the citizens of Duncanville to get more involved. Thank you.
When we were approached about this trip, I thought it was a good thing to go over because my grandfather come from that part of the country in 1905 when he was 10 years old. Him and his younger brother that was 8 were sent over to the United States by themselves. The rest of the family was already over here. So they migrated. It gives me a chance to learn about where he come from and know some of his habits, where they come from. Because I picked up on a lot of things that he done over the years. Really enjoyed, and it comes from Italy. So I appreciate it, and thank you ever so much for providing this opportunity for us. Thank you.
Mayor Green, City Council members. We are George and Marion Duhan. We live at 718 Villa Creek here in Duncanville. We've been residents of Duncanville since 1976. Guess we came over when the Cherokees did. We also have been members of the Sister City program since its inception. Marion was able to make the first trip with the group that went to Italy. And we've been honored in hosting Italians on 2 different occasions, which was really a great experience. This year's trip was wonderful. The group from Monsterola went all out, planning many activities that we will never forget. We were also able to visit businesses, museums, schools, and churches, and were honored at numerous lunches and dinners. We both believe that this type of cultural interaction is very valuable and necessary, and we hope that the program will continue long into the future. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and Mr. Hugman. Kay Cam, I live at 1207 Rock Springs, and I did not come in 1976, I came in 1981. I do serve as a member of the Sister Cities Commission that you appointed last year, and I'm very appreciative for that. It's a great opportunity to serve in the city. And I think early on in the Sister City program with Monasterolo, I participated in some of the community-wide activities that happened here in Duncanville, but had not ever had an opportunity to go to Italy on one of the trips. So this was a great experience for me. I'd been in other parts of Italy, but not in this particular part. I was extremely impressed with the excitement and the interest of the citizens of this small community in the activities of Sister City relationship between our two cities. They're very interested in continuing this relationship and expanding it. It was over and over again when we would come together in these group settings that it would be our group of 20-ish and then hundreds, 100, 150, 200, maybe more residents from Monasterolo participating with us in whatever activity happened to be going on in town. Obviously, they were not with us on the bus, but they were participating in a lot of the activities there in the village. As I said, there's a clear desire on their part to energize the program and deepen the engagement within the community. And Sandy mentioned, and a couple of other people have mentioned, the program at the primary school that we visited. And I was very impressed with the fact that these students in like grades 1 through 6 had learned to make their presentations to us in English, that we heard the national anthem played on recorders, that we heard the national anthem played at other times during our stay in Monasterolo. But what struck me with these students was the numerous times that they mentioned the two communities, using this opportunity for these two communities to create and advance peace and cultural understanding. Those of you, which is probably most of you on this council at this point, who know me, know that I've been involved for any number of years, both as a member of the Board of Trustees and then both just as a supporter of what is now the Museum of International Cultures in Duncanville out on Highway 67. And that's one of the things that they are dedicated to doing, which is promoting cultural understanding among contemporary peoples in the world. So I thought it was a really good marriage of their talking about cultural understanding and our approach here to looking at the rest of the world and becoming more cognizant of the cultures that are around us and understanding those. I've traveled and lived overseas, and I have to tell you, this experience was probably among the top 5 or 6 that I have had in the way that we were treated, the way that we were received. I mean, it was just overwhelming, and you just don't encounter those a lot in your life. Like I said, I probably have had maybe 5 or 6 where the experience has been this profound. So my statement, just like that of others that you have heard before you tonight, is to urge you to continue this relationship and this program between our two cities. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I have never been in a trip like this, and I never been in. I live in Duncanville. I have lived here for 12 years. I didn't know about the program. This is my first and only time that I have been there. I went, and I was really surprised. It was just amazing for me. I am a retired teacher by job, my trade. And the school, the children, the way they presented, it was something that gave me chills to see how hearing the national anthem in a foreign country by kids that you don't expect them to speak English the way they did, and in presenting their program was really amazing. I felt this absolute pride of being an American, being there and having the fortune to have done this. This program is marvelous. It needs to continue. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity in the city of Duncanville. Thank you.
Council. My name is Stella Moten, and I live at 906 Redmond Lane. I was reluctant to come up because I didn't pre-register, but I will just piggyback on what everyone else has already said. This was a phenomenal opportunity, and I urge you and implore you to please consider supporting this program and continuing it, enhancing it, because it was one of the most profound experiences I've had on a trip overseas, and I've only traveled once before to Europe. I was a little apprehensive because of my experience here in America, in Texas. I moved to Duncanville more than 20 years ago, and I must say that I wasn't that involved civically. I will be from now on. I'm a member of the Library Friends, and I want to go further now because of the response and the reception we received in Monesterola. It was phenomenal. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First thing I need to say, as I was driving here tonight, I told Sharon, this is my lovely wife Sharon, for those of you who don't know, my better half, that first thing that occurred to me is the joy that I had in my heart to come back and to see you all. It was a privilege to work here. I cannot tell you that enough. I also want to say for both of us what a privilege it was, and we really appreciate that you allowed us to join the trip. But Sandy, you said a minute and a half, and all I have to do is tell you that'll be 2 miracles in the Hassler household in the last week. Sandy said I only had a minute and a half, but we were already in Italy. We had already planned to go to Italy, and we expanded our trip to join the group in Monesterola. We made it that far to Monesterola before we got an emergency phone call from our daughter. We now have a 3rd grandchild, Emery Rose Casburn, to my daughter and son-in-law. She's 1 pound, 9 ounces. And she's at 25 weeks tomorrow. She was born at 10:02 last Wednesday. Had we not been in Monesterola, we would not have made it back to Fort Worth in time for my granddaughter's birth. So we see God's hand in a lot of things. And I want to echo, as everyone else has, the culture that because we stayed with our host, and the very first thing we did when we opened the front door, there was our picture with a welcome Mike and Sharon sign on the front door. And Anna Ferrero was an incredible woman. Sometimes our English and Italian was pretty funny as we misspoke and butchered each other's language. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that was never butchered was the kindness and the compassion that this woman displayed for us. You can talk about different cultures. You can talk about all the differences. I say there's a lot more alike in us than there are different. And so we made it plain to Anna, our home is open always. If you all want to continue to include us in the program, we'd be honored. I know we live in a different city, but Duncanville is a place that I fell in love with, and with all of you all, and several friends that are here in the audience. Sharon, I'm done. Just again, thank you for that opportunity. We did enjoy the brief stay we had in Monasterolo. An incredible city, but incredible people.
And I feel like that in Anna, we have made a lifetime friend. She was not only just our hostess, she was our friend. She prayed with us. She, what can I do for you? She got us to the airport. Her and her son drove all night to get us home for our daughter's birth. And she's my friend. And I feel like God put her in our lives. And so we would love to host. Like Mike said, we don't live in the same city, but we would love to be hosts to delegates from Monasterolo, and we'd love to go back.
Yes, that was one promise
Since we saw
we
half a
had to
day.
make. We had to make
Yeah.
before we would leave. Anna made us promise that we would come back. And so we fully intend to do that. And again, thank you all so much for the opportunity you gave us.
It was amazing.
It was just a truly amazing trip. So thank you so much. And it's good to see all of y'all again.
I think that is basically the end of the folks who wanted to say something to you tonight, but it's a wonderful program. As you can see from the excitement and the people that went on it. I heard it said that one of the people said, I really didn't know about this. I wanted to go and see, but now I'm a lifetime believer, and I want to sell the program to everybody. So that's what we did, folks. I still haven't caught up on sleep, but we'll get there. So thank everybody who came out tonight to speak and tell everybody what it's like to be part of the program. Leslie reminded me that we had a very prominent citizen pass away this week. He was a dear friend of mine because we used to argue about who was the best grandpa. We shared two granddaughters, but I was just shattered when I was there and we got the call that Earl Jones had died. So many of you were at the funeral. I didn't even get to make the funeral because I couldn't get back in time. But we do want to say that we're going to miss him around here. So we do have item number 3, which is our citizen input period, and I've got 3 cards. So the first one is Ken Bain. I would remind Secretary, she will read the consent items, which are 4A through C.
4A, consider the minutes for the April 17, 2018 City Council regular meeting. 4B, consider a resolution authorizing purchase number 18-091 of Waterworks utility repair products from Core and Main LP through the City of Grapevine Cooperative Agreement number 470-2018, addendum number 1, in the amount of $80,000. 4C, consider a resolution expressing support for passenger rail service as designated by the Midlothian line in the North Central Texas Council of Governments Mobility 2045 plan and for a rail station to be located in the city of Duncanville.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Will you please vote? Thank you very much. Item number 5, for items for individual consideration, there were none. So item number 6 this time is to receive staff and board reports. First one is item A, and it's the receive the Parks and Rec quarterly report.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'm a little, I'm pleased that there's some space in between the presentation about the trip to Italy and my presentation, because I'm afraid I was going to pale in comparison to all those great pictures. So, but I'm pleased here to be here tonight and share with you some of the great things that have been happening in the Parks and Recreation Department over the last 3 months. And we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with some of the staff changes we've had here recently. As many of you know, Rashida Madyun, our senior center supervisor, retired. Her last day was last Friday, and we had a nice celebration at the senior center for her. But we're also very fortunate that she gave us enough notice to be able to go ahead and hire Noel Garcia, and he started with us the past Monday, so they worked together for a week so that Rashida could share her knowledge of all the operations of the senior center before she retired to more fun things than working. So we welcome Noel to the group. Also hired a new recreation coordinator, Anthony Quinones, for the recreation center. He's been with us for a little over a month now, 6 weeks, and is doing a fantastic job, as well as a new irrigation technician in our parks department, Mike Forrester. Some of the work plan projects we've completed in the last 3 months. We'll start with the bleacher shade at Harrington Park, and again, as a reminder, that was a joint project that we shared with the cost with the DBBI, the Duncanville Boys Baseball Association, and really looks fantastic. We've got some great feedback from the citizens on this project. We've got new cardio equipment at the Recreation Center. Again, good feedback from as well on this project. Some of the facility improvements we've done, if you've not noticed, we've painted the exterior of the senior center. It looks fantastic, as well as we painted the utility box out front here at City Hall. Some of the interior improvements we've made is we painted the interior of the senior center as well, the bay floors at both fire stations, as well as our jail. Some of the things we have working in progress is that we're doing a facility assessment and needs analysis. This is some work that we're being done for the benefit really of the bond selection committee, and we'll be coming forward to you after that. But we're working with Hewitt Zollers to examine all of our city facilities to look at our needs and where we go from here as far as expansion. Also have a Kidsville and Splash Pad concept plan. We're working with Dunaway & Associates. Obviously, they're very familiar with our park system as being the same firm that did our park master plan. We had our first community meeting last Monday, the 23rd, had a great turnout with about 75 residents, got some great feedback, some very good questions, and we're now taking that information we learned at that meeting and determining what our next steps will be as we move forward. Some of the things that aren't necessarily on our work plan, but I think are significant improvements to the city and to our system is we relocated the police memorial outside the police station. That was a part of the fence project. We've added another little free library to Lions Park. Again, that's a joint project with the DISD as well as a retired teacher group here in Duncanville. We have new floors in the library meeting room space. If you all went and did your early voting, you probably saw that. And then we also repainted the music room in the Armstrong Park historical area. We've had two big events in the last 3 months. That was our Willy Wonka Daddy-Daughter Dance, very well attended. And then our spring break camp at the Recreation Center sold out with over 50 kids. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize some of the upcoming events to let you know we have our Catfish Catch coming up on May 26th. That's Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. That Monday is, of course, our annual Memorial Day event at Memorial Park. They're in downtown Duncanville. Summer camp is upcoming for both the Recreation Center as well as the Field House. Duncanville is the host for the Best Southwest Juneteenth event on June 16th at Armstrong Park. So that event is well planned, and we're looking forward to that, as well as our Independence Day celebration on July 4th. So with that, I'll ask if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Item number 6B is to receive the Fieldhouse Quarterly Report.
Mayor, Cabinet Council, good evening. Excuse me. Well, we're going to kind of pick up where we're here 6 weeks ago. This is the same slide we had the last report that shows we're on our expenditures, we're just under $500,000, going to 1.2 million, with 6 months left. Some of the ways those monies are being spent is the improvements at the facility. The building structure painting is completed. The entryways into the facility are scheduled there, as you can see, in early May, as well as a stamped concrete overlay. All the signage is scheduled to be up, weather permitting, obviously, on all these, on June 4th through June 8th when the signs go up. And one thing we're still working on is the grill and the entryway painting that leads into the facility. Those are all things that are being supported by economic development. The two at the bottom are things that we have budgeted within our budgets to increase the facilities, customer service, and adding some things that are needed. The curtain installation on the green side goes up on June 1, and the PA system that we much needed is scheduled to go in. We're still working on the bids, but we've identified the cost and well within our budget. These are some photos of the improvements at the field house. You can see the paint on the front area there. The stamped walkway will go in there where the shade is coming out this way. More painting in the field on the cafe. Good shot of the paint. If you hadn't been by and saw it, it really looks good. The paint colors really work well together and makes the building look much more presentable. And then a shot going into the side view. That will be the first area that gets stamped with the overlay beginning later this month. Another photo shot there of, this is actually the Under Armour tournament. Really was well received, was a great tournament. Kind of took up for the Adidas tournament that we lost a couple years ago. The Under Armour people gave us thumbs up and have agreed to come back again next year, so we're excited that we'll bring back a major brand during the live period in April in 2019. As far as revenues, we're showing $430,498 6 months in, going to 1.3 million. We have our busy season coming up with summer camp. May, June, July, and August. Actually, May, June, and July are really heavy months that we're expecting great gains in those respects right there. Some of the ways we've earned the monies and kind of a summary of all of our events. Obviously, basketball is the biggest revenue generator for the facility. However, we do have 2 basketball leagues and 1 martial arts tournament that we hosted in January. Same for February. Again, basketball leads the way. Basketball leagues and then martial art tournaments in February. March, again, basketball leagues and a dance competition we had, and I'll make special note of that. It was a Japanese drill team that came in. The event was in Denton, but they chose Duncanville as their place to work out and practice, and it was really a unique deal to watch all the time that goes into what these individuals were doing. And it shows some pictures right here. You really can't tell, but the picture on the left was the Dallas Mavericks tournament that was well attended for the youth. Then there's some photos of the Japanese dance team doing their routine in, I believe, in the green side of the facility. Our traffic count, this quarter we drew 119,041 people. That's 52,000 up from the same time last year, or from last quarter, excuse me. That would give us a total of 328,549 for the year. As of July 1, we're really expecting that number with summer camp starting in June to hopefully get to the 500,000 mark. We have a lot of work to do, we realize that, but we're in a good position and have a lot of events scheduled leading into the summer. Here's a slide that we kind of stumbled on last time we were here. I wanted to make it a little more clear that shows each individual year of where we are on our sponsorship efforts. As you can see at the bottom, there's about 21 sponsorship proposals that are out that we feel like are going to come through here in the next 30 days and it'll be a part of this year's numbers. but also draw attention to the asterisks. The ones that have asterisks by them provide other revenue sources, not only in sponsorships, but in revenue sharing or rebate programs that are tied to the sponsorship. Programs that we're offering, real proud of our after-school program. We have approximately 48 kids now in the program. Summer camp, just put it out on the website to start signing kids up. We're just under 40 kids. Last year there were 437 kids registered. We'd like to see 500 kids. I don't know if that's attainable, but we're doing everything in our marketing efforts and our sign-ups to our website to accommodate that number. And we're hoping that we take it a little bit further than we did last year. Our two dance programs, Essence Dance and Elegant Dance, Essence has been here a couple years. Elegant's just started. Both are really good programs for the youth in dance. Sport training, we have volleyball with ACCV and 360 volleyball, as well as Bridge Academy training and 360 performance. Our personal fitness, we just opened up. If you hadn't seen it, it really looks great. It's 360 Cycle or Die. It's a cycle in one of the rooms that we've allocated for this opportunity, and we're really getting going with this this month, actually. The guys that are running that, Clarence Neville's, has gotten everything together, his bikes, the look in the room. It looks really great, and hopefully that's going to put up some big numbers for us. Busy Grown Fit, that's our Zumba class. That's a staple upstairs, well attended, and we just added yoga to come back as part of our fitness program, and that actually starts tonight as their first, since they're coming back. And with that, we'll try to answer some questions. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute, Councilwoman Jameson.
Yes, I was curious, was debt service expense added into
No, ma'am.
your figures up there?
Ma'am? No, ma'am. Debt service was not included. It's noted, but it's not included.
Okay, thank you very much. That was the last item on our agenda, so at this time I want to remind the council that there is to be a picture taken immediately after we adjourn. And so at this time, we stand adjourned. It's 8:18.
Well, good, let's take it without.